No, I just want to make sure that you asked for the dressing on the side.
I did.
It's the most important.
Just want to make sure.
Okay, so I will start, just because we sort of got the relationship kicked off between the two of us and John, right? And then I'll send it over to Kelly. So basically, you guys came to us and said, hey, we'd love for you to come up with some marketing strategies and programs, right, from the ideation of the campaign right to the tactical recommendations, right, with focus on your food offers and your customization. Also, additional consideration for the vitamin premix subscription services, future product line extensions and partnerships. That was just in our discovery call in the beginning.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Actually. So the complete dog food, what's the timing on that? Soon. Okay, so this year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
By the spring.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. And that'll be one recipe, a variety of recipes.
We are taking one of our existing recipes, one of the most popular ones, and then turning that one into
Okay.
a complete.
Excellent.
And I don't think we're going to keep it as a topic also. I think we're going to sort
You'll
of
just
force
move it.
people into it's popular already, but force people buying it as a complete.
Got it.
Got it. And it is, I mean, was that a feedback that you got consistently from your customers? Like, hey, I want the complete solution.
Good question. So we just completed,
Oh, got it. Sure.
We heard it enough. I suspected it was something that desired, and so we did a survey and it confirmed our suspicions. It's also it's one way to make a little bit more money.
Sure.
And also, it doesn't feel right anymore at 5 years into sending people elsewhere.
Sure.
Like, here's a top and you buy your vitamin or someplace else.
Yeah.
And so it's starting to feel or we should be offering more.
That makes sense.
And
your competitors.
But it depends on who. Are you thinking of the competitors like the bigger ones?
Well, the farmer's dog, my own premium, will find they have a variety of complete foods and also the treats.
Yeah, they're complete. The smaller guys are not necessarily complete.
Okay. Makes sense.
So we want to, compete with the big guys.
Now, this is something that's sort of a battle cry that we have. We say quite a bit, start with the campaign, not the tactic. What that means is when we were at Edible and we were playing with these, pretty big budgets. I mean, our all-in marketing budget was about $21 million a year, right? So the digital side alone, we were 10.1. I know, right? So, but what we did, it was interesting. We used to go through the seasonal planning process, and then that's what we call AOP. It was an annual operating plan that we put together, and we would set the budget recommendations by tactic at the beginning of the year, which I always found odd because I thought, how do I know what I'm really going to spend in Facebook or paid in December? When we're not really sure what we're planning for the year. We may have a campaign that does better on search than, social. And also the tactics change quite a bit. Facebook can make one small change in the algorithm, all of a sudden it nukes all of your interest targeting, Yeah, exactly. So what we leaving that experience and what I said was, if we started with the campaign first, if you start with a good idea, and a campaign could be an everyday campaign. It could just say, I want to have e-commerce sales every day. Or it could be, we're launching a new product. We want to build a campaign around that. Or it can be, we want to go after fit moms with our chocolate dipped strawberries, right? That's a campaign. And then you start with the campaign and say, okay, this is a great idea. Now, how do we activate it? Mm-hmm. What tactics are going to make sense for this idea? And then from there, what kind of budget can we put towards those tactics? So we sort of inverted the big thinking, the big box agency thinking. And we think it's a much better way to get, certainly at a smaller micro level when you don't have $8 million to throw at the wall and see what sticks, right? So this is why we've adopted this battle cry. And what that means is we take, we come up with a good ideation, good campaign idea, or multiples, right? And say, now we're going to integrate them based on, and I'll actually let Kelly take you through. This is more of a brand marketing process, but we start with this campaign, and then we'll take you to a sort of thought process that goes into it.
Yeah, so essentially what we do is we take the input that you gave us, which provided a lot of great insight, which is very helpful. And the good news is when you sent me the follow-up insight, I had already been doing that. I found a lot of those things, so it's great that like, you guys were on top of it, obviously. You could tell you're about that in 2 minutes, but it's not really tell us about your business and what we see is happening in the market from a consumer perspective. Also, the great news is there's so much available about pet food insights. There's a lot of information available, which is very helpful. So we take both of those pieces and try to figure out, what are some different campaign ideas, and we'll show you how that process comes to life for your business. Then we'll build out the customer journey. So Drew will talk about that in a minute, but is it, how do you drive awareness? How do you then build consideration for your brand for people to purchase? And then how do you ultimately drive that conversion to them to actually purchase? Once we build out the journey, we develop our channels and tactics. So, we want to be on YouTube, we're going to do that with a 30-second spot, or we're going to do email, or it's going to be off-premise print advertising, etc. We then construct the messaging, those tactical levels, and then go ahead and implement the campaign, and always, most importantly, measuring and optimizing as we go. The beauty of putting a lot of dollars, or the majority of the budget into digital tactics is
And it's highly measurable.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we talk about building a customer journey, there really are 3 components. It certainly on the digital side, I think it holds true with a sales cycle as well, traditional sales cycle, but really on digital acquisition, we always align, and you'll see, I'll draw it in a minute, and you'll see it on the next slide. We do what's called a conversion funnel. So you start at the top, you raise awareness, you increase consideration, and then you capture conversion. So imagine a user that enters into this funnel because they saw a television ad, right? That's an awareness driving tactic. And then as they're navigating the web, they see a retargeting banner, right? That would be a consideration driving. So now you're taking someone who's aware, maybe not ready to buy, and saying, okay, maybe I'm considering buying now. Then at a later date, they maybe go to Google and say, I want to search for custom pet food, remembering your brand, being considered. Now they're going to see your ad in Google and close. So that's a traditional marketing funnel, right? And how that looks tactically is here's all of the key players. You have YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, email, and obviously a lot more, but those are just represented in logos. It's sort of where they fit. And the reality is Facebook could be in all 3 phases of the funnel. Because you could do a direct response ad on Facebook that says buy now and save 20%, right? That's conversion driving tactic. Or you could say meet Paul, right? And it's a video. That's an awareness driving tactic, right? And the beauty of digital is we could take some of these tactics and actually remarket off of them. So we could drive people to your site with an awareness building campaign, pixel them, and then chase them around the internet with ads in a consideration driving campaign, right? So that's the idea behind this. When you start with the campaign, think about it. Think about what I just said. Edible would go at the beginning of the year and say, we're going to put, without knowing anything about the campaigns, we're going to put 10 million into this, 2 million into this, 1 million into this, 500K into this, right? Without knowing, it doesn't really make sense. So that's why we decided to approach it like this. So as Kelly sets up the ideation, I just want to draw my drawing to more relevant. Expert is amazing. My drawing skills are.
You are, right. We heard. His digital marketing skills are slightly better. So.
The irony is I'm actually a pretty good graphic designer. I just can't draw on the computer. Exactly.
Okay. Any questions before we jump in?
Nope.
You're good. Okay, excellent. So, this is going to take us through the journey that we've been on together. All right, so the first thing that we did is we talked about your business, which provided some great insight. We also looked at the market. So, as I mentioned, you guys are so strongly positioned to capitalize on all the trends that are happening in the market. So I'm not going to anything here that you don't know, but it's just a level set before we get into the ideation. So pet humanization has been a trend that's been going on in building for years. People are treating pets more like their family, they're like their children. That's us.
To say the least. We talked about this already, yeah.
So, they're members of the household. They are looking for specifically for personalized nutrition for their pets, which is they're also looking for clean labels. They want to know what's going into their food. They are shopping more online. This is the e-commerce boom. Everybody shopping more online. I mean, Amazon is driving that. We talked about that briefly on the last call, but you have e-commerce presence, fantastic. So you're ready to capitalize on that opportunity. The rise of the millennial pet owner. These guys, they own more and more pets, and they are practicing pet parenting and taking very seriously. And those folks in particular really desire more of a local connection. They want to know who they're buying from. They want to understand about the brand. So I think that's a really great opportunity for the business to grow. Really honing in on building that relationship and building a brand story with millennial owners. Okay, so we each took what you provided. We just tried to profile customers. This is she's an affluent woman, 45 years old, right? She shops locally. She likes to shop at farmers markets, a specialty, or a high-end grocery store. She prefers organic food, and she definitely enjoys those white glove services that you guys provide. You mentioned Paul is really good for this, right? The concierge service, the on the phone, sharing stories, getting to know each other, special deliveries, services. And one thing that we found just in our research is that they currently spend the most on pet products, but they spend less after they turn 60. Right? You're talking for retirement, starting to like cut the spending a little bit. So it's just an interesting thing to know as we start to look forward over the next several years. As this group starts to age out, you're going to be more money in business.
And as a point of intersection there with some of the digital research that I had to do for separate clients, because this, obviously the rise of Amazon has created a big disruption in basically every e-commerce industry, right? So again, I've done a lot of research on this and I have some point of views one way or the other. But the one thing that I did come about in my research that's relevant here is millennials will have the substantial buying power within a few years. I mean, it's not a surprise, right? But it was funny. It was one economist says it'll be the first generation because of the access to the internet and how important, even though retail in internet sales is still a small percentage of the overall retail market. By the time that they have the buying power, they'll be able to like literally control economies. It's a significant buying power. It's scary, but it's exciting at the same time. So if you can align your brand with them, the point is it's going to be good for your brand, right?
Okay, so here they are, millennials, Kara, Jeff, and Cooper. Men and women 25 to 40 years old. They don't have kids, but they are practicing pet parenting. They're drawn to good food, but not necessarily committed to local or organic. But they do buy perceived high quality dry foods and frequently. They're looking for products whose labels are transparent and are most likely to buy organic, holistic, non-chemical, and grain-free products. They're pretty much having kids and wanting to experience life with their pets, which I thought was really interesting. And they're seeking ways to socialize with their pets. So we talked about this actually before we sent their last emails to us about potentially opening a storefront, which I think is. I wonder if we should put that in there. Would they ever consider, having some kind of storefront presence? Because once you have your own footprint, that you allow people to bring their dogs and have that experience and socialize with other pet owners, like that's kind of really cool for these guys. They're looking for additional outside of the home or like Petco. They want to be able to bring their dogs wherever they go. Right. So I thought that was really interesting. And they want to know a brand story. How the ingredients are sourced and what other people are saying. So they're much more invested in kind of what the brand is about. Who are you? Who am I buying from? Yeah. I think that's particularly true. You use the different calls. It's like, who do you trust? Who's paying? I'm spending $1,000 on a bag of Hill's Science Diet food, and like a dog just died. So it's really scary. You don't know what's going into it. There's just a few other consumer dynamics. This is specific to pet food, so it looked at the 2 different age groups. And a survey asked, are you willing to try holistic and natural branded nutritional pet supplements? 55% of millennials said yes, and only 30% of the baby owners were yes.
Yeah, and just being a nerdy digital guy, what the takeaway from this, I wouldn't look at the right hand first consumer profile and say this is poor. I just think these are exceptional numbers. In other words, even a third, right, of consumers still strong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So more likely to consider foods made with natural.
Yeah.
And then every fear of food, cat food. Obviously, that's
Yeah.
Educated before. Focus. So like more social media.
Yep.
This is important for me. All the things that happen in the industry, like where to go. That's where we come from.
Right.
That's where they come from. Like I love those again. So it's just awareness and education. That's really.
So, why don't we hold on to this? Okay. You're gonna be so mad because they put cheese on yours. They always do. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take the cheese. I'm also recording, Paul will be like, of course she said that.
Okay, so meal enhancers or mixers and toppers with convenient, easy way to add nutrition and health benefits. We thought that was really interesting and again support. We also thought this was very important to pet owners for themselves have signed up for a pet food subscription service. So HelloFresh and Brands, all of those players like really tactically, would you partner with them to include box insert false custom pet food in your HelloFresh delivery? Just because those people are more informed. And then finally, pet parents are utilizing technology to share their pets, right? So clearly, there's a huge one. And also to stay connected. So, they want to be able to see them when they're home through video cameras, and the toys, little robots that way to discuss a toy and things like that. So it's just people are investing more in technology.
It's staggering statistics. Like even for me, I mean, I use social media quite a bit, and I post. Our dog has his own Instagram page, right? Even I was staggered by the statistics of.
That's all I do.
Yes.
We will link you for sure.
Yeah.
It's a little boring.
One of the things that we found too is 1 in 6 pet owners have social media programs
for their pet. 1 in 6.
Specifically just for their pet.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I follow so many of them. I didn't know this.
Yeah, this is my favorite one.
Okay.
Basically, half of the people that are will turn the movie off if they feel their pet is uncomfortable. If the pet's not enjoying it. Yeah. It's got to be. I would say the millennials are driving that.
That's just right. It's like kids, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so moving out of kind of what's happening in the market, some of the dynamics that we so our number one objective and what Brian conversation with products. We have a few strategies that we're recommending. The first two we're not going to talk in depth about today. So first is implementing a search engine to improve organic site. I'll let you just talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so Yeah, I poke through the site. We do this. This is like a core service of ours. I've been an SEO guy for 2 decades, right? Before SEO was really a thing. So it's always where my mind goes. I immediately go to the website and start poking around and see, are there H1 tags set up correctly? Are there image alt tags? Is their page title the right length, right? All of that, because that matters in Google organic search, right? So obviously there's some improvement opportunities. We don't have to go through them all, but that's a way that we could fairly substantially, potentially improve your organic search traffic.
Just to start, how do you get it?
Correct.
Without any marketing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then the second piece is to implement, it's the same concept. So if that one is dealing more with acquisition of traffic, the second, which is implement a website audit, is more on the conversion rate side. Mm-hmm. So this is something that I did. I spent a lot of time on Edible doing, where we used an A/B testing tool called Monotate that allowed me basically to test everything. So button colors, navigation elements, positions and menus, right? I mean, everything you could possibly imagine. So I have a good wealth of knowledge on consumer experience online that maybe I could apply here and say, you know what, maybe you should consider changing the positioning of this button, that sort of thing, just to potentially help with conversion rates. Once you get people to the site, you want to close them,
Yeah.
Okay, then where we are going to focus all of our energy is around acquiring new customers through targeted marketing campaigns. We have 4 different creative concepts with you today to see what you like and what you maybe don't like as much. So we're talking about that. And then the second objective would be to know your existing customers. More tactical in nature because these guys already know who you are. But the strategies here would be to promote the value and sales of your subscription services. We know that that's kind of like a no-brainer. How can we get both of these out there? And the second piece of our strategy, as I talked about, is developing a loyalty program. So we have an idea, just a very good one bullet on that, but just some things that you could put in the loyalty program, which would be pretty targeted. Okay, so I'm going to share what this is. This is our idea architecture. This is how we're going to read through it. So it shows you how we got to the idea direction. It always starts with the consumer truth, right? So what's the consumer that we want to tap into? So that's a true insight about the consumer, which can be perceived as a problem that needs solving. We then say, okay, that's the truth about the consumer. What's the connection at the brand? Like, can the brand solve that problem? And if so, how? So it's how the brand connects to the truth, solving it, needing it, or even the customer. And once we have those 2 pieces, that's where the art comes in a little bit, right? You have to say, okay, the point of intersection that connects that truth to the brand, that sparks some kind of creative or compelling idea. And hopefully we think so. We're excited about it.
At least 1 of the 4.
Yes, at least 1. Yeah. So what we're going to do of the 4 directions, and we'll follow this.
When you want Rachel said.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Feel free to dig it out, of course.
Well, then there'll be screaming. Oh, then it'll be an ASMR kind of website.
Yeah.
Okay, so our first concept. This starts with the consumer truth that pet parents are seeking customized premium options, limited ingredient diets, or culinary experiences, and more to fit their needs. So they are looking for these things that come right out of pet food industry.
I think, well, there are a few, but I think it's kind of interesting.
Connection to the brand is that Paul taught himself everything about holistic pet health and canine nutrition. He works with pet owners, veterinarians, and pet nutritionists to prepare food for consumers. They're seeking custom limited ingredients. You guys are, that's what you're doing. The direction here is to feature Paul as the face behind the food. That came from one of your Instagram posts. Highlighting the craft and care that he puts into every package of Paul's custom pet food. On this concept, the master. We're calling this concept the master of canine. And just before we go any further, sure. This photography study, so this is Winter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know her?
No, but you mentioned her on credit. This is exactly for this.
Yeah.
The exercise. People love the dark tones, very high-end, very pretty, and it's all about Paul, the craft, and the high-quality ingredients. All about, like, this is like culinary. Mm-hmm. So bringing it to life here. Mm-hmm. Putting the face behind the full vulva, is it for
Goliath. Goliath. Okay. America. So this awareness driving campaign
positions Paul as the master of public literacy.
high-end video and photography assets give a behind-the-scenes look at the craft of food and let pet owners get to know the personality behind it. Concept, you're going to see ideas today that all come directly out of your brand from at different angles.
This is not Paul, right? It's about what he does for your dog, right? It's about
The craft, the care, the process. You know, it's really not that food craft.
thing. And you had mentioned, you know, the book at Yellow doing video of him. Like, this is exactly that idea. How do we bring that to life? So Drew's going to talk to us about some sample
Tactics that we have to understand how to come to life in the targeting.
Yeah, so now this campaign is going to live a little more up around the funnel, right? Because this isn't really a direct response. You don't want to, you're not going to try to sell someone, right, on a package right out of this, right out of an execution. Beautiful video series about Paul, who's talking about benefits of the brand, health benefits, et cetera, and then all of a sudden we slap like a 10% off. It doesn't feel right. This is more brand awareness. So this one would probably live like here. So when we look at the tactics that work well from here, we have what's called YouTube pre-roll. So the pre-roll are funny because every tactic I have is going to be annoying in some way because every digital tactic is annoying in some way. So pre-roll are the little 15 videos that are commercials basically before you watch a video. And why YouTube pre-roll is, what I like it is A, you could geo-target, which is important when we start talking about targeting opportunities. It allows you to some degree of content interest. So a perfect example is somebody has a HelloFresh unboxing video, right? Remember the insight that we learned before that 4 out of 10 of those people may be willing to buy a pet subscription service. You go target it to 30 miles within a New Milford area, and now all of a sudden that pre-roll ad becomes relevant. So we would show like a YouTube pre-roll ad before that particular video. Another one would be organic social media, right? So Facebook up here. Something that you just post on your own, following the campaign guidelines, the same imagery. Right? Yeah, consistent. You execute it there. Even though it's up here, we do have something a little more lower funnel like mail. So we're going to suggest, obviously, email is, every single campaign we suggest back in the day on email, right? But then we have same thing with brand search. Something I don't believe you do now. I didn't see it unless you've changed since. Do you do Google AdWords brand ads?
No, we don't do ad for
paid
AdWords.
Yeah. So in your case, because your volume is going to be really limited, and there's probably not going to be any good out there wasn't when I checked bidding on your branding called Custom Pet Food. I would suggest we actually start a small campaign, pretty cheap. I mean, we're talking about, my guess would be 15 to 18 cents a click. Right? Even though the majority of those people are going to go to the organic listing that's free and click on it, it's good to get the real estate there. And you could start injecting some of these campaign ideas into that copy. So whatever the copy line we go with, we can inject into a branded search campaign. So now you could potentially have a YouTube pre-roll ad, Facebook organic post. You're going to hit the customers with email, right? All with the same messaging and consistency. And then as we move down, we can slide down a little bit to the paid social portion of it. Right now we're getting into the, we've already been exposed to the brand. Now we can get really tight with our targeting here, and it's a little more direct response. Still not forcing the sale, but the idea is can we get our ability on this campaign. And we get what we call earned media. So earned media is, you have a marketing, legal background, right?
Right, and then if I did, yeah, so just informally self-taught. One legal, 2 horticulture.
Oh, interesting. So
Sometimes there's
there's a connection, right?
full circle.
So earned media is basically maybe we need to have this ad show in place. So if 30 people share it and 15,000 of them get impressions, that's earned media. So the stuff that lives up here, we're really hoping to get earned media out of, right? Your marketing dollars move a little further. Now the risk with that is this may not convert sales right away. You're not gonna, the metrics on these aren't gonna look as good as the activity is if I'm watching a funny cat video on YouTube, I'm going to stop what I'm doing, click on this because I saw Paul's face and go buy it, and then come back to it. That's not the behavior. You're just pressing the brand on them. So the metrics might not look as good. But that's the type of tactics that we do. As far as targeting, we would stay, I think, with your there is an opportunity here for millennials as well. And I know, but I did focus at least on the initial core demographic, 30-mile radius from the center point in New Milford, Connecticut. The reason why, if you told me you had a $50,000 budget, I'd say, fine, let's extend it. Let's go as far as we can. But because the budget's going to be small, we have to figure out a way. That's actually, we could use that to our advantage and say, we could get super, super tight and relevant with the targeting and still meet our budget. Right. So we're going to start, everything that we do is going to start with a demo target and a geo target.
So New Milford includes Fairfield Town?
Not necessarily. However, here's the beauty of depending on the tactic I use. Facebook and Google search will allow me actually to physically pick chunks of land, right? So you'll be able to tell me, even zip codes, you could tell me we go here, 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 and here, and that's the only place I would target. Yeah. Okay. But I just use that as an example to show that we could geo-target based, on an area. And then for interest segments, we, depending on how, when I put all of this in, I narrowed it down as much as I could. I actually, in Facebook, only got a return result of 7,000 people, right? We really wanted that to be minimum of 20, 25,000 to even consider targeting. Otherwise, the volume is going to be tiny. Ideally, we'd like to get into six figures, like to get 100,000. That's just the base audience that you could possibly reach that meet all of this criteria. Because if you start doing the math on it, it's like, okay, 1% will click, right? All right, so that's 1,000 people. Of those, 2% might actually engage in some way. So you're getting really small numbers when you got the little base. But some of the interest segments are, and we can attack these in Facebook, possibly display advertising, although I don't really recommend looking at display yet. That's something we can talk about down the road. So really the interest segments are for Facebook specifically. Dog lovers, people who are into organic recipes. And this was important too, fans of competitors' brands. So Farmer's Dog, My Ollie, right? You convert people that are already customers in that arena. And then fans of popular cooking shows, and then obviously fans of the popular pet services, especially the dog food subscription services. Right? You see how it all comes in. You take all the insight and you build it into the targeting as best we could. So I don't know if you wanted to wait to the end and the recap to get sort of feedback, and we'll just keep plugging along.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have questions very well. We can go on to the next.
No, I just, it was clear, very clear and creative. I think what you don't know is that, we're actually, there's a big food network, Chopped network of people we're kind of peripherally involved with through the Westport Farmers Market.
Okay.
So we have some connections there.
Nice.
In fact, I'll tell you this later. And then I did try. See, this is why we need you, because I tried to reach out on LinkedIn. We're a canine company, So I'm, just organically kind of reaching out via email or Instagram or private messaging people to just say like, hey, let's get together. Right? Beyond that, I don't know anymore. So this is helpful.
So we'll want to leverage those guys as much as we can online and offline. So whatever idea we have, we didn't develop specific partner content when you distribute them, so they can just be, they can expand.
Yeah. Because beyond my phone call or my private Instagram message and I'm like, hey, let's talk.
Yeah, Instagram's a tough game to play too. Even on the advertising side, you'll see that I actually don't recommend LinkedIn advertising for any of these campaigns just because it's so expensive. It's a viable tactic in some cases. If you were B2B, you had a B2B product that was a high ticket item, maybe, but we could get much better rates on the Google brand search and on Facebook paid ads.
Yeah, but it's always good when you're looking to, develop a relationship with a potential partner,
Right.
an idea of what you want to talk about.
Yeah,
right.
It's always more helpful to get a day with carrot.
Yeah.
We're actually trying to get sidebar in front of American Express, the small business, their open network, their small business customers, to offer our services to their small business customers as a rewards exchange. Like redeem your rewards for marketing, trying to get somebody to
Talk to you,
it's
right.
like, forget,
Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of one. That's great. So the next idea starts to finish with that millennial pet parents are driven to buy from a brand of ingredient transparency, local roots, and tell a story. And the connection to the brand is that Paul's Custom Pet Food sources the highest quality organic and or locally sourced restaurant grade ingredients from farmers, small businesses, all of the food. To appeal to consumers by romancing Paul's Custom Pet Food. Handcrafted it's farm to bowl. This idea again comes straight out of your brand, right? It's all about literally the process of, hey, farm to table is a huge, and it's been a huge trend, it's been growing and growing for years. Why would you not want to your pet's food in the exact same way? So again, this photography, fantastic. You guys have a lot of great assets. I hope that I was able to just pull them right from your Instagram feed, your Facebook page, your website. So we'll get to the next.
I'm actually curious. The shot on the left, is that your property or is that a separate?
So that was when we were in New Hampshire. That's a friend's farm.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
And we bought a her in the beginning.
So as I mentioned, the farm to table social movement is growing for pets. So this is a direct response campaign to leverage stunning food photography and the community context to establish Paul's Custom Pet Food as the best local choice for pets. We consider the promotional offer to incentivize new customers. But this one, Drew and I were talking about this one would look maybe more like a fresh athletes. Right? Beautiful photography of all of the fresh organic ingredients, but with some kind of an offer. We talk about that. If you are, it doesn't help you with conversion to attract new customers.
Yeah, and here, so you can imagine our little funnel over there, my beautiful funnel. If this line was probably take that blue box and move it down about 4 or 5 inches, right? You're getting closer now to the consideration and conversion side of things. Because for something like this, to Kelly's point, we would be able to actually show a beautiful image, whatever the tagline may be, some introductory copy, a promo or no promo, and a buy now or a shop now, because it makes sense. Because here we're saying, this is, it's all about the product. It's all about the food. It's not necessarily about Paul. I mean, it's obviously always about Paul, but in this case, the focus is more on the product. So it's easier to transition that consumer into a sale. Organic social for sure, paid social for sure. This is the one that I thought about. There's a possibility that we could do prospecting and retargeting display campaigns. That's just banner ads. So, and the good thing about banner ads, again, it's run through Google. So I have the same interest targeting parameters, I have the same geocard targeting capabilities. So we get really, really focused and targeted. And even I could choose what content to show the banners on. Mm-hmm. I will say, though, it's just funny. I love telling this story. Maybe it's too dirty, but I don't know. I love telling it. I had a partner, a display partner tell me one time, because I said, hey, we're going to sell edible arrangements on other food sites, right? Websites that talk about food. It makes sense, right? DIYers, that sort of thing. He was like, we sell a lot of advertising to to golf companies like Golf Galaxy. And, he was like, do you know what the #1 website that those ads perform on are? And I'm like, golf websites, right? He said, no, diaper websites. His insight, yeah. He said there's likely a series of like connections there that are, you don't really, that you think of like, oh yeah, new dad, right? Got to get out and golf, that sort of thing. But the reality was that's where it performed the best. So the other thing that I would consider is it stands out too. Imagine you're on a golf website, right? And you see a golf banner blends in, right? You're on a diaper website, you see a golf banner pops. So anyway, I will say as we get into the world of display, I wouldn't actually recommend getting too super hyper targeted with those. I do think it's a good opportunity to publish display campaigns on sites that talk about HelloFresh and Blue Apron because of that insight we talked about before, but not necessarily sites that talk about gourmet dog food, right? Because it may get lost in that messaging. Anyway, sorry for that digression. In here, we start to get into at least an opportunity to talk about non-brand search. Non-brand search is basically people that would search for custom pet food, not necessarily Paul's custom pet food, right? I could tell you it is going to be competitive. It could be very expensive. We would likely test with a small amount and see if it's something that will work for us. But we would lead with the farm to bowl angle and possibly promotion if you're comfortable with that. That's the way we would get into that space. And then obviously the paid social side, as always, email, and then the partnership activation as well, which Kelly could talk a little bit more too. But you'll see the interest segments are very similar to the priors. These are the opportunities. I think the reality is I didn't want to spend 10 hours right on the targeting side. If you're going to come back and say, we don't like this idea or we don't like that idea, let's align on the campaign and then we'll narrow down the targeting parameters.
Yeah, the good news is there's so many options.
Yeah.
In this space. And there's so much endless targeting. Okay, so that's the second idea. Now, idea 3. This truth is around food safety. 60% of dog and cat owners agree that they're concerned about the safety of pet food treats and treats. And the connection to the brand is committed to creating whole, chemical, and process-free pet food. Every day, if you keep on living, I'll keep on cooking. I think that is a really special part of your brand story. That the nugget that I found, of course, on your last page, but that you wouldn't know unless you had a conversation with you guys or you read that. But I think it's really special because it really connects down more to the emotional side of like you guys left what you were doing and created this company because this promise that the hunter like to keep him alive, you wanted to like keep him healthy. So I think that that's a really special. This is going to lean much more into the emotional side of the brand story. Yeah, no, I think it's really important. So the showcase Paul's commitment to food quality and safety and the emotional promise that started it all. And we're calling it Paul's Promise. So we love.
Oh, that's funny. You just picked that one up from the other day, right?
Yeah. I found it on, I think it was on Facebook or Instagram. I don't remember.
Up in a Facebook. And so this was just a picture this morning.
Yeah, so I love that because from the early days, right before the business was a business, like when we were just cooking for him in the kitchen. It's a great shot. That show, like, it's true. This is not a story we made up to be marketers. This is like how the brand was created. And here we are. I don't actually know if this is really overtime. It looks like overtime. I see it's a little gray.
You can tell by the gray.
So we just love the emotional journey that you guys have been on. So we can get to things from the beginning, maybe a little sharper in the process, but. The details here is it all started with a promise made up of love. So this trial driving campaign highlights the promise of highest quality as long as they need. The assets will showcase testimonials from satisfied customers and communicate a money back guarantee with the risk. So we like the twist on Paul's promise, right? So we give a promise to the customer and it's a promise to the customer. We can love it or I know that you guys do money back we'll work with you, but it's just a lot of the times the money doesn't remove that area of risk because it is expensive. And if, if it's a product that you've never tried before, or maybe you're on the fence, it definitely helps people kind of that hurdle of, where I go to my, so it definitely helps you kind of make that leap. So, do you talk about that?
Yeah, so if the farm to goal was more here, right?
Mhm.
This one, Paul's Promise, is more like here. Okay, so it's sort of a blend between the two. Listen, in a perfect world.
So he's right in the middle of the funnel, right?
Yeah, I thought I'd take a photo.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I don't know if you can make heads or tails of it.
Do you use it?
I destroyed it. Yeah, but the reason, and one of the reasons why we do this, it's not by accident that you have different tactics. For one, you may come to us and say, listen, we don't care about the long term or the brand. And we get this, believe it or not. We don't care about the brand. All we want to do is drive sales tomorrow. That's it. I want an extra 5% tomorrow, right? So here's a tactic way down at the bottom that we can execute. Or, and conversely, you know what? I'm not worried about sales right now. I got an 18-month plan. I want to build business.
Mhm.
However, there's an opportunity to use all of them together, right? Literally everything you're going to see today, we can actually piece together as one broader campaign that can hit on these different points in different areas. So subtlety here, for instance, is remember I was talking about the display, the banner ads, right?
Yeah.
So prospecting means we'll throw this banner out to everybody who may be relevant. Targeting means they had to move on to your site first. We'll pixel them, we know we got them, and then we'll show them. So this will lean itself more towards retargeting. Whereas the farm to bowl, it's a little more direct response when you do prospecting and targeting. So that's the kind of subtleties that we're looking for in the tactics, which is why you can actually use all of these together. You can use one campaign as a prospecting campaign, and then use this to pull them down the funnel as a retargeting campaign. Because I think about the journey for a second. I was exposed to Paul, this amazing business, right? This man, what he's able to accomplish. Then I was right down the front a little bit more. I was served a prospecting ad about farm to bowl. Wow, this guy's it's relevant to me. Locally sourced, right? I love farm to table, right? It's relevant to me. Then I go to your website to check it out. A week later, I'm traveling around the internet, so when I get hit with a retargeting ad saying, "Did you know that there's a money back guarantee?" Why would I not buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're pulling them down this journey with all of these different things. But you could choose one, choose two. A lot of it depends on budget. You don't want to take a budget and carve it up 100 different ways. Scale.
Right. We are aware of all of this, but how to make it happen,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
Yes, so just before you move on, I just want to talk about the interest segments. An idea like this where it's really more focused on the emotional part.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the social networks. We look at like ASPCA, the US, the Dodo, who always has those like great emotional stories. So, I love the idea of really going to people who follow. Like they're in it for the humanity of the animals, so we can get that. So just, subtleties like that will definitely apply for each of them. Okay, so this is the last thing. So we know that you told us that you don't love choosing.
Okay.
So this one's like,
We had to get one in.
We had to get one in. I
humorous, but not cute.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this, and we think humorous. I love this. This is like one of my favorites. It's definitely, this is not a brand idea. It's just going to be. So just putting that out there as a caveat before we go into it. So the consumer truth here, dog owners are supposed to picture or talk about their dog on social media 6 times a week. They share the dog's antics by posting photos of their pet with a sign describing funny behavior, often food and feedback.
Yeah.
So brand connection here involves custom pet food knows what's best in nutrition for your pet, satisfying even the most finicky eaters and their savvy owners. So our concept direction is to create a highly shareable social campaign that shows that dogs may not be the best judge on choosing the right nutrition for themselves. I like that. So canine confessions. Are you familiar with dog shaming or canine confessions?
Yeah.
So this started actually back in August of 2012. Someone who had posted their dog with a confession, and it so if you search confessions or dog shaming, you get hundreds of pictures like this. We had a blast, actually. We're going to put it here. So you'll see, he stole a little girl's ice cream at the park, you know, the pizza off the coffee table, I'm a thief, I stole a piece of bacon off the counter, and I ate an entire large pizza and the breadsticks. So, you know, I mean, they're just so adorable. And, you know, I feel like a lot of them are like, I need cat food. So, you know, but there's many that are food related, and I think they're really fun. So, why we love this idea so much, aside from the fact that love to share, comment, and engage with dogs, is why just because they'll eat it doesn't mean they should. It's very applicable to the business, and it's true. Like dogs will pretty much eat anything. It doesn't mean they should. So you, as the owner, are responsible for making sure that they get the right nutrition. So I love the idea of you're building that brand messaging into this campaign and education. Absolutely, it's really fun. Social media campaign we put on, you know, really focused that leverages people's canine compassion photos, focusing on things of study and that they have. So we would encourage people to keep our posts. So we can push a ton of content, and it's so easy, right? You're going to take your mother, you're going to ask your parents, we'll do it. If you get a bunch of people to create these posts, we'll post them, or you're going to ask people to submit their own with a hashtag canine confessions for a chance to win a 3-month subscription of all. So this was very straightforward. It doesn't have a ton of links, but it can be an ongoing campaign that you guys keep running in the background on Instagram and on Facebook. And we think it's
Yeah, and you can see on the interest segments where it would make the most sense, right? There's actual, not only is this meme huge, but there's actually interest groups that are dedicated to this type of meme, right? That people that sign up just to see this sort of stuff. So that's where we would target to see if we can get the most shareability. Answer us.
okay.
So
So we have in here, you know, if you have a pet celebrity pages, like Lulu, Marty, you know, these guys have huge followings on social media. Or, you know, if you had some people that dogs want to love bad dog, America's or agency or cutesy, you know, like heartwarming stories about dogs. Right. And something that I personally yes, I mean, it's going to get a ton of engagement. I think it's just a matter of how do you make sure that you're lost in the engagement idea, and how do you make it relevant life. I mean, that reminds me, like, honestly, that line popped in my head, like, that's the line. Like, just because delete it doesn't mean you should. It's so true. And you can really make that into the fact that, hey, like, you are responsible. Make sure.
So one question, customer research that said, you know, like a brand that does some.
yeah, well, there's the challenge. We have this similar challenge with another client that does allergy-free food for children, right? Where we wanted to go into like this heartfelt, heartwarming campaign that has kids talking about how frustrated they are with their allergies, et cetera. And they actually brought a good insight to us, even though there's no research on it, to say, we don't want it to be dark, right? We don't want it to be sad. I mean, we get it. We want to tug on heartstrings, but it should somehow relate back to the fact that we have a positive message, right? That's where we have to be careful there. And I think here we would have to be careful to make sure that it doesn't go down the road of too campy or like where it's, again, somebody's posting something about cat poop, right? We don't want them to be associated with the brand. But I think just because they lead it doesn't mean they should, sort of keeps us in line and locked into that, saying, you know what, maybe even if it's a boot, right? It's like, yeah, they shouldn't eat that, but we have something amazing and delectable that they should eat because it's good for them. And as long as we could keep that in line, the other thing to consider too is the majority of this content is going to be user generated. So while you do lose an element of control, you also lose a little bit of the accountability too. It's not like you're posting these pictures, right? You're not going to hold it against your brand. It's somebody else posted this picture and used the common hashtag, by the way. So I think the risk is fairly low, lower than we see with the risk with the allergen company, right? That's you could go too far with that.
Yeah, I think it's very cool, right? I mean, people do this and like they want to show their dog, and it's just they're posting on the system. They've got their own, and they want to post content. So it's all done in
In fun.
Like, I don't think we've ever seen anything that was like dark and really our research here. So, I mean, there's no studies or research findings, but I mean, we've done a ton of digging just to get where we are here. And, I mean, I've seen this many times. I never like follow everybody's research pages, you know. So, I think
And where it lives really at the tippity top of the funnel, right? This is more about just putting as many eyeballs on this as possible because, you know, with something like Farm to Bowl, which I'm actually a really big fan of it because it's executable and it's a little lower down the funnel. I'm a nerdy digital guy. I like to put stuff way down. But something like that, you're going to pay, let's say you have $1,000 in working media this month. I know exactly what you're going to get for that. I could do the CPO on it. I know what it's going to bring in more or less. And that's it. There's very little opportunity that it's going to bring in more. With something like this, the output might be low, right? But who knows? It could, if this catches on, you could reach millions of people for no additional dollars for that same $1,000. That's the trade-off of the risk. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, we're going to get into, and we actually, we have aligned. It took us a while to align on our favorite, believe it or not, because we don't always agree. Yeah. And sort of in a direction. Well, hold on. I do want to can I grab my salad while we recap?
so we have, so we're still recording. Can you pause it? Okay, so that I can. All right. So we'd love to hear just from you, just initial thoughts on the process, kind of where you're looking, what you don't like, what you were expecting.
All of the above. It is definitely what I was hoping to hear. Kind of how you tie it all together from the campaign idea to implementation. That was like a really good. I like them all. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear how Paul feels, which he works more than if he has one favorite or another. Ooh, I like them all. I'm wondering if there's a way to combine Master of Canine Quizzing with False Promise. Did that come out?
We definitely can. I think we likely could bring all three, together. So I think the challenge that you have is we're really plenty of messages.
Sure.
You want to make sure that you're concise. But these could play different roles. So like False Promise could just be a much more prominent on your website. Right? So like, is it more dialing up that story, once we get you there, like we're gonna remove the risk barrier by telling you that way you'll love your promise that will leave you back. So maybe that message from an acquisition standpoint, but we could certainly put on the site. But I just think we don't have to prioritize in the line what's used where. But yes, we absolutely can combine.
Yeah, example, I mean, all the Master of Canines might be a video series, right? In and of itself, you pay content you feel is going to be most relevant, and then you put a couple of dollars toward it and throw it out there. But otherwise, the point of the false promise, underneath the false promise campaign, right? Or it could be the first. Farm to Bowl piece, I actually thought could be really just a logo lockup, right? Because it's kind of self-explanatory that you put on all of these other Farm to Bowl, maybe just have a description brief on it online. That's what we need on the goal. High level, here's Fluffy. But we just create a nice, clean logo and lockup, and we start to inject certain things. So Farm to Bowl is just sort of an extra.
It's like a gluten-free.
Sure, one of these packages. Are you concerned or how deep into the weeds? The Farm to Bowl, I really like them all. Other concepts. So here's our challenges. Always source locally and or organically. So I'm a little concerned in terms of messaging, honesty in messaging. Okay. How we frame them. I think they're really probably I think that part of a farm to goal, but not everything is.
Can you give me an example of what you would not sort locally?
Well, here's the problem.
Mhm.
Right, so
Right.
we can't everything from the farm. So we then will supplement with a restaurant.
Okay.
From
Yeah.
or, one of those distributors that,
Sure.
we might have to,
Yeah.
because we need food and ingredients in great volume.
Yeah.
So, and we need it.
Sure.
We can't change. Like if we were to do custom food, we can change it. So we have a little bit more leeway with the Department of Agriculture.
Sure.
But when we set out and we create a recipe, we have to into those
Sure,
ingredients. So if we can't find green beans in October, we have to find green beans elsewhere.
Right.
Okay.
So that's.
It's not like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really cost for you to say, is the substance standard? Put a say on the description. Carnival means that the majority of our ingredients are sourced and these are
Yeah.
say because we live in a climate or are instances where we may not be able to source it, but otherwise, by and large, the vast majority of our sourced locally.
Yep.
And I think that's a substantial part of it. Like, the reality is, have you ever had the audacity to challenge this in some way? The fallout is you probably had told people that.
The only, I don't see customers challenging.
No,
it, I see competitors.
Yeah, exactly.
So we.
That's, I love Paul's promise. I love how you changed Paul's promises. Promise compared to what the promise.
To the customer. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
That was a really good connection.
Yeah.
Someone.
Yes. I think the K9 connections, concession thing is fun. And yeah, again, I'm just repeating myself, but I would only be concerned. Backlash on like, really, this population of customers that, that might not want to be dog-shamed.
Yeah, and that's the decision you guys have to make.
I'm wondering if there's just a way to do it different.
Yeah.
So it's not to shame, but still,
Then we still have to decide, right?
yeah, or something.
Or we can just text.
Yeah.
The idea is we want to make it also just as content. So in other words, but you're not allowed actually to tell people they have to share normal time on it.
Yeah.
But if you comment on your post, encourage them to share it. The idea is, instead of having them say photos or tagging anything, I want to say, tell us the craziest thing, right? Because then there's not this all over the place imagery.
Yeah.
And that's a way to encourage engagement for your original piece of content
Sure.
that you had. Yeah. That's one way to engage. Called our page post, where I run all the social apps through Facebook. Right there. So, you don't actually put it on your page. Because they can choose, right? So you can actually exclude everything. And it's very common because a lot of times people don't want to spend money to advertise. Right? So that's one option to mitigate some of this.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, really, I personally feel that that's not a self-sustaining I think it's something
Yeah,
that you can do for fun. We align on a campaign and we move in that direction, and then that's an email or a social post that hits us on Friday. And guess what? If it doesn't work, or you have a little pushback, shut it down. You know, we just won't do it again.
Well, other than that,
Go ahead.
we do have a couple of questions. Oh. Sure, so if
Massachusetts is better. Like to bring that up.
really interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was such an interesting insight. And I mean, there's so much research right now, especially in the 2019 trend documents around millennial behavior with our pets and how they really are longing for opportunities to make their pet more a part of their lives. But there's so many restrictions to bring them to certain places.
So yesterday,
Right.
Wednesday, I went to the one called Cafe Park.
Okay.
Really cool concept. Not what we want to do, but I think it aligns with exactly what you're saying. And so on the left, so you put the glass front storefront. There's on the left is coffee, cappuccinos, baked goods. There's this sort of hallway. It's all glass. Hallway, you go to the right, and the right in a separate building is the dog cafe. And so humans can get their food legally. This is not permitting.
Sure.
They can get their coffee and their treats, and the dogs can't go over there, and they can bring it over to the dog cafe. Do their Wi-Fi set up so that you can work, and then there's like a little boutique for, yes, they're doing it well. It's only been open 4 months. So here's an example of it. So, I saw that. I sent a private message to them right away. Congratulations. And we were able to take the two because everyone in there knows that there's a problem. You can't have a cat or a cat cafe with human food. So they just very smart. And then I just said, any interest in having fresh food, a fresh food menu? If they have treats or anything. I said, but what about toppers? Some fresh food you have a freezer. So they were like, let's talk.
Oh, good.
Wow.
So I just stopped by on Wednesday. The owner wasn't there. I left. I left the same thing. I'm going to leave you a sampler of everything, and then just a card and feed them to your dogs, feed them to the customers. That's free and very cool, right? But so I guess in that way, you're right. The millennials do want that space, right? This is in Washington Heights. When we thought of it's so funny, when we thought of going back and forth about our storefront, it's been this idea of this small, open concept kitchen with a space that was primarily takeout, but that we could do. But we've been thinking that would appeal to our population, the older population. And if we put some chairs around and
And
you had free Wi-Fi.
Convenient, right? It's got to be kind of where the floor. Thank you. Yeah. It's got to be right. But I think people are always looking to do cool stuff. Like, what am I going to do this weekend? What am I going to do this weekend? We have encourage foster connectivity amongst dog owners.
Yeah.
I mean, they go to the dog park. I'm going to go to the dog park to let my dog. It's like, are there other outlets for people to volunteer? People like, I want to be right over. The wineries are a great example. We have tons of wineries in Connecticut. We have one right in our house.
Awesome.
And people bring their dogs to wineries all the time. In the summertime, it's like, in summer, they bring their dogs, the dogs chill outside, they visit each other, they bark at everybody, and it's loves it, and it's like, there's not a lot of places like that. Where you can have a good time and bring your dog. It's just, there's not a lot of spots that you can do that. So
It's like Facebook and all.
Yeah, it's like,
Most customers have goodness to it. So tomorrow, there's a guy, so I had mentioned this Westport Farmers Market, and Matt Storch was really shocked when he owns 3 restaurants. And he's unloading one, which is in Black Rock.
yep.
So Black Rock is overhead right now.
Yep.
The restaurant is total turnkey, put $200,000 into it. That's exactly what we recommended.
Where, what's the restaurant called?
It was Nami's.
I haven't lived there. N-O-M-I-S?
So it's a donut place, and Nami's all in one, and it's N-O-R-E-E. But then things change in that restaurant world really fast too. So I think he took over the Nami's or the donut part, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And it's
Oh, okay.
If that's
Yeah.
familiar. So that's his place. He has mashed burger, lobster, mashed taco, and mashed soda.
Oh, it's all there.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
You know.
But so what we're looking at is this product. I think it's 2 bags available now. I kind of wish that we were kind of, further along in the campaign or more name recognition. But it's available and it's pretty. Yeah, it's a rental. He wants to recoup this.
Sure.
Significant part of his investment in the structure.
Pretty.
So anyway, just that's happening. It depends on how fast we can. Money off
So
of
it's
this.
pretty, I'll give you my, have I given you my Amazon spiel yet? No, I may have, but I always, I have to temper my, I have to temper my emotional, my emotions. But there's another reason why you want to align with the millennials. Not just the timing, right? I mean, because obviously they're going to have buying power and the older demographic is going to last, right? Not just there's a paradigm shift in consumer behavior. How they're physically shopping and how they're relevant to me is how they're searching for these products. So that probably staggers most people. Saturday, 1% of product searches on Amazon. 31% are on Google. 20 years ago, that was completely inverse, right? You think I Google it, right? I Google anything I can Google, I Google it. Not anymore. Product specific, the vast majority of the product searches. That's a challenge for us as a search marketer, right? All of a sudden, you take my base, and that's starting value. People searching. Sure, but the challenge we have is that so embedded. They had electronic statistics. I forget the number. It was annoyingly high. It was like 45% of millennials would rather go without sex than Amazon. And it was like 70% would rather go without alcohol for a year than Amazon. All that millennials. Stunning. That's trying to be great. However, very limited is that they're not running with millennials work, especially for online shopping. And they're socially conscious. Which means a company like Amazon doesn't have a history of philanthropic, right? It's a bit, I call it an existential crisis. Amazon is a little, garage company. Right. And now, everything you want.
Yeah.
So, look at this monster giant, and most people were under the fact which is super high. And they're very philanthropy. It's just a matter of time before something happens, some sort of misstep that would cause some sort of an accident. And Amazon search so thin. The point I'm trying to make is what we can attack and labels with is direct insight. So that's something Amazon can't provide. Whole Foods can provide, granted, and Amazon owns them, but
Right.
Amazon, the brand, cannot provide that, not yet.
Right.
Paul's Custom Pet Food can. So if you did have a way to interact with your customers, that's a way to draw millennials outside. They still can buy online, they're just going to buy from you, not from Amazon, right? So it's that paradigm shift in behavior that we have to be very, very cognizant of. That's going to happen as they take over. The market share for everybody else shrinks because of the
Unless, like you said,
correct.
or the government.
Yeah, like the
Antitrust.
antitrust is very possible, but you know, like Bezos got away to and they're going to even work. So they're already in all the services, right? So it's only a matter of time before you on putting your show and say, I'm going to get my the marketing my marketing website design my shopping cart in this company that's new. It's only a matter of time. But we listen, we're in our 40s. Oh yeah, they have that. Oh yeah, yeah.
I would never buy my cat food from Amazon. Like, and Amazon, because I don't understand, like, Amazon has a brand being nothing to me. Amazon is a cure for all the other stuff that I need.
Right.
And I mean, we shop on Amazon a lot,
Sure.
but it's literally just because of the convenience of it. And I'm starting to notice that it's costing me so much money. And it should. Like, and I remember, wasn't it free overnight shipping?
No, it's 2 days. It's 2 days.
I will say, all shipping, you know, convenience. The fact that they can ship so cheaply has created problems for companies. Because that's, of course, yeah, well, and we have problems that we move.
We had that problem with Edible Arrangements. I mean, we charged $14.99. What?
Okay, when you're going to have to say, no, they could make a decision. Delivery. They deliver. This product. Yep. And granted, it's $14.99. Well, it had to be because, you know, well, Amazon just put it in the box. Amazon creates some credit service. I'm sure it's a complete UPS is the best.
Which is the
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Really. It's creating, and the worst part is the reason why the dog will ultimately Amazon is wrong over $500,000. Houses that are being lost in the private sector, small retail, are being shifted to Amazon warehouses. It's not only one. There's more jobs that are being lost than are being created. And I think that's what's going to ultimately end up doing it. This is just over a number of years of passing and say, okay, that's encouraging our job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my sort of.
I tell you, Whole Foods, I was happy. The prices were good.
Yeah.
I could not go in there. It's just, and I'm not the demographic, but I go in and I'm seeing Prime, like the Prime logo with fresh food in the at the end. I'm like, oh, it just doesn't do it. Yeah, it's actually, like, it's
We don't have Whole Foods around here, or if you're going actually.
Well, I would say, the representative actually, and it was who was the guy from Casey Penney? You'll see, watch this video the other day. I think he has a scare because that Target and Walmart are brands that have physical locations. To their people, right? Develop this report. Guess what? Before Amazon were the only ones that actually had to be for free. Now Target and Walmart offer the same exact deal. You go pick it up in the store. Amazon does it. So
Yes.
Physical store. Yeah, it's
And
experience.
for us, we do that with farmers markets. Call from somewhere.
Oh, wow.
The market tomorrow.
Yeah.
So people do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've done instead of having a real
Mhm.
storefront and make it our markets, our farmers markets,
Mhm.
like little
Pop-ups, sure, essentially.
Absolutely. It's just, I don't know. Other kids in our family.
We have not.
And we don't have children, we have nieces and nephews.
So,
of all ages.
You've heard about the
Yeah.
for the youth.
It's
Kids are.
yeah.
I'm a little. I can be. Especially in October, November, December. Then he plays sport. So, but there are times where people literally get up and out. They'll text me that. We got a whole line somewhere.
Oh, from
That is right.
With the headphones on.
Like ignore that. He'll eventually get hungry enough that he actually physically removes himself from the
And comes to it.
Yeah. But the thing I'm going with this is, we were the last gym that really had a social life outside of the house, right? We did parties. That's where the cutoff is, but. So when Amazon came out and every Texas had buying power, and we built Amazon. Built Amazon. Our buying power. Amazon was, but there was a training put on that convenience. People were outside, people were busy, lives, and training put on the fact that I could just sit on my couch and order product. But this next generation, that convenience is not going to be appreciated anymore. I think, I believe that the shopping experience is going to be an outlet for people in town. Someone's realizing they live their entire lives in
They
their
want to
adults, that they want to use these. And I think personally that will be the ultimate downfall of these big online retailers. I see the brick and mortar.
You know, I did read that magazines, but there is sort of, it's a prediction too, it's not,
I mean, I know.
nobody, I think that, but.
I have nothing to back it up with my experience. Because not going to ice cream, I mean, like, oh my God, I just came out of the house and went to ice cream. Before, my dad was like, hey, you want to go to again? Now we're playing table outside.
Right,
Now it's a big deal.
right.
Yeah, so shopping becomes experience.
Yeah.
Now we're
I think that'd be great.
So what's the next steps typically after you do this presentation? And
Let's go to the next steps.
No way, really? Okay.
Oh, we do, yeah. We just have a couple of additional.
Oh, sure.
To talk about the loyalty program, so I'd love to get a false pack. So just reward customers with special offers, random merchandise, and curating dog-friendly events. So we talk about those. There are tons of dog-friendly events and things happen all the time. Like a hike happening at Gillette Castle. This weekend, whole pack is meeting at Gillette Castle for a hike. We're going to make your goals. Or there's the winery this weekend. They're opening. Or wine, like bring your dog. Just providing, being a curator, where people can go and spend time with their dogs. I think is valuable. So we love the idea. I don't know if you guys talked about doing a loyalty program. We can definitely have much more in-depth conversation around that. We have a lot of loyalty programs, and it makes a ton of sense. We take increased frequency, just stay top of mind, and add value to you.
And I think in your case, it's interesting. If you were a national retailer that was doing 1 million transactions a year, I'd say you're pretty good out out-of-the-box loyalty program softwares that are out there that you don't track. In your case, because I would think it's going to be a little bit higher than a cup of coffee, right? And your customers are relatively local. We could probably execute a client loyalty program where you don't have to go and invest in the infrastructure, right?
It's a start.
Start. Yeah, I mean, we started with punch cards.
Yeah.
Literally, it said, before we roll out something at 1,200 locations, we want to make sure it's worth it.
Yeah.
So we literally have them physically at punch cards, as opposed to this, big digital that we put money behind. So I think we could probably figure out a way to execute these.
Could we tie that into our subscription program? Like, we haven't figured out a way to get people. Honestly, it's crazy because we're finding out on price. The subscription price is the same, and people are still paying for it, which is okay. But we thought maybe we could tie a loyalty program in with the subscription.
I think the challenge, my own personal opinion, I don't want anyone to take offense to this at all, but I personally, I think the biggest barrier to execution, I actually have a hard time figuring out.
Okay.
When I get honest feedback,
Yeah.
I think that, by the way, a lot of the site is wonderful, and the injuries I'm experienced. I was so impressed that
Okay.
you guys didn't sell out no Shopify, you actually built commerce. You have to do commerce.
Oh,
My
good.
WordPress is commerce house. So I'm so happy that you did that.
Okay.
But this is one particular thing. I put my conversion rate out on this. What would it look like? Now, what I do is go to the whole HelloFresh. I never signed up for moving. I never signed up. It was so easy to find, to this.
So I've been waiting for that change, and also the custom.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a huge investment of time. Customize this is build up.
Yeah.
You need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it's a matter of figuring out.
How to execute that in the other ways.
Just the simple as again, you provide a different set of every button, right? In the purchasing process, the latest one is collapsible a little better, that sort of thing. Just a way that it's made.
Right.
So do you, as part of this, that work, or do you,
That's
actual design, web design work too?
yeah, that's actually a big core of our business.
Okay.
That's
Actually, most of the work that we do.
it's mostly web design. The challenge with that is we haven't figured out a way to, it's just not something we monetize back into a retainer. We like the marketing work because it's sort of just taking off our business owner. We're trying to how you make money doing this time, right? If we deliver good work here, there's more work to come. But the website typically, especially as I say, we do it over.
Right.
And maybe they can't. Not really. But we do it, and we shouldn't do it.
Oh, your site's great.
Well, we have, before we get to next steps, forward. Anyway. Thanks. That actually is so funny because when you, it's the worst site that we've designed because
I get feedback all the time. Like, we actually need to spend some time on our website.
this is
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did that.
yeah. So John, oh yeah, you John was the referral. So this is a sample of a site that we do, and this is WordPress in. Yeah, and we just, I don't know if you saw, we did add the e-commerce catalog now. So you can buy coffee online. And these were not my images, by the way. John took these with his cell phone, but we're working on getting better imagery. So this is actually just the WooCommerce backend, right? We did this for him. It was very easy. So, and he's got a fully functioning e-commerce shopping site built on WordPress. So this is something that we've done.
Yeah, it's great. I didn't notice that.
And the design and layout of your site is absolutely fine. I think it's great. There's no, I wouldn't recommend that we go in there and nuke the thing and start over. I think that we could make some small incremental changes, that may help with conversion rate.
Well, that's the thing.
And then
We have no loyalty. He's in New Hampshire, number one. He's a great guy, developer / designer. I think he's talented, but he's frustrating to work with because he's very slow. And he also doesn't respond to communication. And I've worked with him when we lived up there, when I was in managing garden center and I managed design business. I kept, love his work, but I kept trying to work with him. Yeah. We finally just, this last thing that we did with him, it took me 2 months to answer my question. 2 months. I had to resize photos.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and that was it. Yeah.
So
I'm happy to have someone here.
Yeah. So you obviously John would be our best referral here because there's already a connection. But and I don't want to set this standard. I don't like saying this out loud, and I made sure to tell him not to say it out loud. But because you're not in the market for a new website, I'll tell you that we built that site in 4 days. Yeah. Now that's not a common standard that we want to set the expectation of, but the reality is, I put 30 hours in over a 3.5 day period, right? So, but he needed it quickly for a grand opening, so that's why we did it. The point is, we could work pretty fast on the web development side.
Okay, so we talked about the experience and opportunities for the line of piece. I think there's a huge opportunity. So would love to just continue to work with you guys and partner on ways to engage. And you're not a service provider or an experience provider per se, but how can you feel a part of your brand that will make people excited to join in? The targeted partnerships, we talked about this briefly, delivery service, promoting subscription service offers. So we actually used to partner with HelloFresh on Edible. It's obviously not pay to print the inserts that go in, but certainly something that I'd be willing to reach out to them to see if they would be targeted and they would really best.
And HelloFresh of all of them would be the more closely aligned.
You have to look. I mean, there's so many now. It's HelloFresh is one of the biggest. Obviously, that's what I have a lot of money. We have to look at who has the best coverage in terms of subscribers locally. Yes. That would be one of the first questions that we would ask them in terms of evaluation and direct partner.
Oh, I have another fun Amazon hatred anecdote. It's very relevant from your legal background too. So I don't know if you heard this, but Amazon had filed for a copyright. They filed for a copyright, a registered trademark on a name of a food delivery service. Right. And apparently that word got out that all they did was file for a trademark on something that resembled food delivery. Blue Apron stock dropped 11%.
Wow.
One day. And think about how crazy that is. 11% just because they filed a patent on the name. That's how disruptive this company is. Anyway, sorry, I digressed again.
That was crazy.
You know what the irony is? I shop there all the time.
Right. I know, but that's ridiculous. Like on Facebook, we were there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same.
I have all of these factoids in like this 6-page document on my desktop, and I've been writing this article for weeks now. I have to cut it down. Yeah. Well.
Okay, the last piece I think we talked about the website, we can get us and there's definitely some opportunities. Just to end here with a quick review of some opportunities off the bat that would help, and then some will go into a deeper audit. Just
Yeah, well, there's two. There's the search engine optimization audit, which is important. And then the conversion rate audit. So just so you know, we do have another full-time digital marketing manager who is in New York. She's remote, but she handles a lot of the SEO and SCM with me because I can't do it all myself. And then we're bringing on a new employee. She was just here yesterday, actually. She had some good ideas about she had some good ideas about your initiatives. But she starts she has some competencies in email marketing, social media marketing, and she'll also be an account manager. She comes from Edible as well, because now that Edible, yeah, she's amazing. So she starts in a couple of weeks. And then we have a development team. I have 2 onshore developers, but I also have a team of 8 in India that I use. That they're amazing. If you could scope projects well, it really keeps your costs down. All they have to do is churn out code, and that's really how. And then we have access to copywriters, graphic designers, mostly 1099 contractors. But that's how our business is set up. That's why we stay lean and sort of cost effective, right? Yep. So the website audit would be performed by myself and Kirsten, who's our digital marketing manager on the SEO side. But it's, to Kelly's point, like I looked at for a brief period of time and found a couple of things right off the bat that we could correct. Kirsten would go in there, spend a day, and just tell us everything that we need to do in detail.
Again, I think I mentioned to you that we hired someone to do just like 4 pages.
Yeah.
Pages, and I haven't done anything. And it was my job to do the photos, the pictures, the text on the pictures, so that hasn't happened. So I know.
Understood. Yeah. Well, even our site, we see it. I mean, we're a marketing company, and to Kelly's point, yes, our site is easily the worst of any of the ones we've developed because I don't have time to work on it.
Yeah.
So it's like, just get it out there. But I mean, for you guys, that's what you're doing. That's what your business. Every single opportunity, so it's it is for us. Okay, so next steps. So what we'd love to do is obviously go back. Paul will listen to the presentation.
Sorry, Paul. Amazon.
You can just go through that part. Who knows? So you guys will come back to us with feedback. And then we'll align, we'll finalize, and maybe to come up with something new. And once we have alignment on where how we like to proceed, we will then scope everything out. So here's what we think we need. That would include our agencies and out-of-pocket production costs. So we need photography, creative, etc. So what we can do is we can tell you cost. Here are all the different pieces that we recommend. Here's what it costs for us to do them. We also understand that you have resources for photography and that we have a videographer potentially that you work with. Okay, so for the photographer, we have to know she does a phenomenal job. There are some others too. Like, we want you guys to do it, or we'd rather use our own vendors, that's fine as well. And then we would send that all to you. We would get aligned on scope of work. We'll align on the tactics, the creative assets, the targeting framework, all the and then
Actually does the report on it.
so we can do it all.
We
Obviously will associated. So I think it will help you once you see the scope, like this is what it would cost to and then you can say like, you know what, actually on the email side, I think I'll or on the social media side, like I just didn't give you So we're open to however
That's good.
to work.
Because obviously, of course.
So, I mean, here's a practical example. You would, let's say you would give me, because we have my Facebook manager account where I manage multiple accounts within this umbrella, right? You would give me access to your page. It's just a simple click of an admin button. That'll allow me to create ads on your behalf, right? So you could continue to post your content, do whatever you're going to do, but you may come to me and say, Drew, we're ready to move on this. We want to publish this. Now I can go in there and set the targeting parameters and just press the play button. That's one way.
I just want you to know, like, because we did that, we would want, I would be really concerned about it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go in and do, if there's a campaign, it's like we're embarking on a campaign and we've agreed to that and we paid for it. I'm not going to go in and like go somewhere and
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yep.
Because
Yep. Yeah. On the Google AdWords side, or any Google product, that tends to be a little more complicated. So Google owns YouTube, their AdWords product, and AdSense. So what I would do is, again, I have what's called an MCC account where I manage multiples. I would create the new property, then essentially give you admin rights to it, so you can go in and put your billing details, because all of that's a pass-through cost. We don't take it. You just put your credit card number in, and then we set a budget and say we're only going to spend $4 a day, right, on Google AdWords, and that's it. They'll only spend $4 a day, and at the end of the month, they'll bill your credit card, and then that's it. And then you just pay us to manage those campaigns separately. So that would cover if we decided to do display, if you decided to do Google search, or if you decided to do YouTube advertising. It's all done under the same platform. And then obviously Facebook. Yeah, and then Facebook owns Instagram. So all of your ads that we run on Facebook will by default be on Instagram. Trying to think the other, and then email. Yeah, I mean, email, we could, you said you use Constant Contact?
No, I was on
MailChimp? Oh, that's right.
It's a tiny bit more sophisticated than I probably need. But I really like it. There's something, I thought that when we switched, we were about to get to 2000, so
Yeah.
I was pretty familiar with MailChimp because they did it at the time, tagging and segmenting.
Yeah, they still don't actually, but depending on your plan. I have clients that are on their plan. We have to send a different email to their different groups. I can't go in there and choose multiple groups. It's very frustrating.
So the market, well, that much. But it's actually really,
It was designed for course creators and creatives. So, there's a lot of sequencing, so, one thing, you'll like it because it's funnel-based. It's one thing to another,
Yeah.
that's where I made that's use of that. And I did think I was trying to
Teach a course, but
Got it.
maybe someday. Label, and that would have been the perfect kind of email.
Sure. Well, to Kelly's point, I mean, you could tell us, here's the template standard email template that I use. We need a 690 by 310 graphic as a hero, and we'll make recommendations on subject lines and stuff, teaser text, stuff like that. So email, but it's so funny because we have two other clients that were involved with email, and each sort of started out the same way, where it was like, maybe you could just help us on the strategy side, we'll execute. And now we ended up taking over the execution side just because it was easier than the handoff. But I think in this case, we can make that work easily, where we just give you a graphic and you could fire it.
Yeah, as long as it's consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
I will tell you,
Yeah.
Not consistent about sending them out. And I do, there are 5 orders
That night.
within a couple of hours.
It's like magic.
I love email.
Yeah, the reason why I'm smiling is because at Edible we had an engaged list of about 5.5 million. That was just the engaged list. Yeah, every day you could press a button. It's $100,000 every day. So it's just from email, and it was so tempting, right? Because meanwhile I have the president of the company saying we need more revenue today. Press the button, and but email is always going to be really, other than maybe brand search, email is always going to have your best ROI. Those are your loyal customers, right? I mean, it's pretty cheap to send emails.
I know a lot of people like, no, this is not our avatar. These are not our people.
Yep.
Like, let's get rid of them.
Yep, absolutely. Everybody's just do this, right? And new ones signing up all the time.
Yep.
Well, okay, so finalize the work then. And that's it, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So I mean,
You just didn't even finish eating. As long as you like.
Yeah, so we'll obviously send you this presentation that along with the recording to get to the call. So we're gonna say goodbye,
Bye, Paul.
Bye, Paul.